That's the right approach. Like, he's trying to actually get back to I hate to go back to complaining about AEW, but one of the things that I complain about the most is when they bragged about not having a PC. I'm like, no, people need to learn. People need to be taught the right way to do this, or we're not going to have this in 20 years.
Dude, that's it, man. And like, one of the things, like, I know people, especially whenever there's releases, people want to crap all over the WWE. But the WWE for a very long time has had the mindset of they sign a lot of people knowing that not everybody's going to make it. So that includes the people that go into the developmental system. But that is intentional. That's intentional. It's because they recognized a long time ago that the indies were kind of broken. They knew, the big part of it is the things I listed earlier was there weren't enough people with the right amount of knowledge giving people the information they need to be successful. So we're in a state now where it's the blind leading the blind.
Right.
So the mindset is that like, so even if half these guys wash out, half of them will go back to wrestling. And if the half that goes back even just learned half of what we taught them, it's 100% better than what these kids have now. So at least we can get a couple of one-eyed men running.
Right.
Around. And eventually, like, it's like a war of attrition. Eventually we'll get back to a place where there's enough viable information on the indies where, like, the sport's going to be better for it. Cause dude, I can tell you, like, it's, especially if you're a Northeast guy, when you would go to tryouts, if you told someone you were from the Northeast, they would roll their eyes because, like, oh my God, we're in for it. It's going to be some ass who's not going to listen. Let's take a quick. So I won't say who it was, but it's like I own my ring. My dad, he does executive protection, executive security, weapons, firearms training. So him and his partner have this massive facility. I call it the Bat Cave. So, like, during COVID, guys wanted to get workout, so I set the ring up, and so we were training inside, and a friend of mine from AEW comes, and I'm like, I was happy that he got signed. I was happy to get signed. Nice guy. But while we're working out, I hear him say, "Well, I was told there is no wrong way to do things, so just kind of do whatever feels right."
Oh,
I'm like, that's dog shit information. Because, so, like, there's no right way to do things. There's a lot of different ways to do things, but there most certainly is a wrong way to do things. It's like, so no, you need to do what you're told until someone shows you a different right way to do it. And then you work with whatever works best for you. But also too, there are rules. Like, listen, yes, you go to Mexico and they're working off of a different side. They're working off a different side of the body. So if you don't want someone to think you're a backyardy here in the States, you need to be working off of the appropriate side of the body. If you're in Mexico, it's a little more loose. If you're American, they expect you to be able to change. So you've got to be a little more flexible and dynamic. But, like, don't go giving these new kids who don't know their butt from a hole in the ground this crap information, because you have to, like, I go Jade Cargill, right? Everybody's really hard on Jade for being in AEW for a couple of years and needing all this extra time once she got to the WWE. But the one you kept pointing out was like, no, you don't understand. She got there and she didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for CM Punk, she wouldn't know how to get into the ring.
Right.
So they had to, not only did they have to teach her, they had to deprogram her.
Unteach her the bad habits. Yeah.
That's it. Yep. So again, that takes just as long as learning to do it the right way. So she needed that time, and look at her now. Like, she is an obvious star. She has tremendous presence. She's money.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, hey guys, she's only 2.5, 3 years in if she started learning the right way. So she's still got a long time to grow, but that's like you, damn it, man. There's a lot of really bad, information out there in the indies right now.
Yeah. There's no wrong way. There's many wrong ways to do many things. Who told you that? Good Lord, that's bad information in any walk of life. Like, not just wrestling, but wrestling specifically. Because if you do it wrong, you're gonna hurt someone really. Like, Jesus,
dude. Oh my God. So especially during the during the speaking out debacle, which yes, there were some bad actors, but we're moving up. We're talking about 90% of this was you were being a hoe who didn't get called back the next day, even though you knew this guy had a girlfriend or a wife. So I don't feel bad for you. You need to make better choices in your life. But when we started hitting certain trainers, and some of the guys I knew they were tough people, but they were emotionally abusive. I'm like, no. They're talking to you with elevated urgency, because you don't get to make mistakes.
Right.
We got to get it right every single time, because the second we don't, someone's dead or someone's crippled. There is no such thing as a do-over.
Right.
You get it right or you pay the price. And if you can't get it right, then you need to be mentally strong enough to understand there's consequences for that. And right now you're in an environment where the consequence is getting yelled at. So how are you going to handle when you take away someone's ability to freaking walk,
Right.
or to remember their kid's name? It's like, so I'm like, it's like, bro, there is a mental toughness that's missing in the current gen, but not all of them, because some of it is there. I always go, guys, there's a reason why the WWE is putting a hard focus on grabbing collegiate athletes or people who didn't get signed, during the combines. It's because, they have the mental toughness, they have the grit to be able to survive the pressure. They understand what it is to survive in a team environment. They understand what it is to survive in the high pressure environment. There are more, you could throw a stick right now and you could probably hit somebody who says they're a professional wrestler. Which is a problem, because, the wrestling needs workers, not wrestlers. But the WWE doesn't want indie wrestlers, because indie wrestlers come with indie wrestler problems. They want athletes who can kind of survive an ass chewing and not boo-boo face the rest of the night. They dust off and they keep going until they get it right. Because that's the name of the game. That's the most freaking important thing. Like, I don't understand what some people, what some of these kids don't understand about that. It's like, no, it's what we do is very fun. I'd say that I've never had more fun in my life than when I actively wrestled. It was just one of the greatest things I've ever been able to do, aside from being a parent. But it's one of my most favorite things I've ever done. And I do miss it, but it comes with a lot of responsibility that should never be undersold. And you are solely responsible for making sure that your dance partner gets to go home.
Right.
He gets to go home. So it's silly that you have people out there who don't understand that you're getting screamed at, because when you tried to do your hip toss, you didn't post, and the person was going to slip, and they were going to be in danger of landing on their neck if you didn't get stopped before you did it, or because you didn't bridge your back properly, that this person slipped down, and when they landed on their leg. They landed on the leg wrong, and when that femur comes exploding through the skin, you're not going to be the one who's going to have to drop the thousands of dollars in hospital bills. So it's one of the frustrating things about the new gen. But again, we've got some mental toughness guys. I think, listen, there's some kids who are out there right now who I think are going to do gangbusters. There's a young tag team called Live Danger. They're training out of the New Japan school with Fred Drauser, and they are super. I love these kids, man. They did a couple shows for me, and they're gonna be a big deal soon.
Nice.
They're gonna be a real big deal soon. Again, it's kids like that. I won't say who they are, because I don't want to gas them up too much. But both were Division 1 and 2 athletes, and really humble kids, smart kids. They have really bright futures. They have really bright futures, and they're learning. They're learning from Fred. And dude, Fred was one of my favorite people in the Indies when he was Fred Sampson. Fred was always great, always worked hard. Was always a pleasure to be around. Was always very giving. So, to have someone like that in a leadership role, it's, I don't really think he asked for anything better. And I would even say, there were 4 guys that my old coach ran. He ran around with, with Robbie, with Rob Echoes now Robert Stone,
Okay.
with Damian Adams, who's a super prolific teacher. Damian was always on like Jacked and Metal on the syndicated shows.
yeah.
Like he was a guy that they were in the area that they would bring him in because he could have a good match with anybody, make you look like a star. And then Fred was the other guy. Fred was the other guy, and they consider themselves like an indie four horsemen, and just tremendous talents, man, tremendous talents, and it's awesome to kind of see where everybody wound up, because it was weird, like when WCW folded and TNA was still kind of new and ROH was coming up, it was really hard to kind of get attention, like. If you weren't willing to essentially kill yourself, you weren't going to get onto ROH. Like you just had to be willing to die to get onto ROH TV. TNA, once they started getting out of Nashville, the priority kind of shifted. They wanted guys who had a little more equity already built in, so it was kind of hard to get on there. And then it was hard to get into WWE unless you were over 6'1". So there were a lot of really talented guys that were floating around who didn't really get their due, and we're talking pre-YouTube, pre-YouTube, pre-iPhone.
Right.
So there's a lot of like super talented guys who just never really got their due. But my God, man, they could go. They could go. Like one guy in particular, Mario Baccaro, he did like a little run on TNA with Follow Ball. But when I knew him, he was most sexy. When I was learning from him, and he got to go down to OVW for a little bit, but like Mo was like one of those guys. I would say Mo is one of the greatest performers out there to have never been able to perform on live television. And that, that's just but that's just kind of like how the cookie crumbles, right? Like the best guys don't get drafted. The best guys don't get drafted to the NFL, the NBA, or the NHL. It's the right place, right time, right opportunity. But so.
And then you gotta get the breaks to fall for you too. Like that's the other thing is that there's a lot of other things those are things you can control is how hard you work, how well you take coaching, that sort of thing. But I mean, then the world can happen to you and change everything. So yeah, it's
Yep. So like it's nice to see like a lot of those guys. It went well from like Damien in particular. His kids, his students always wind up backstage, for WWE or AEW. They get a lot of dark matches, they get a lot of exposure, and that's just a testament to Damien's ability as a teacher. And then I guess I would be remiss in not mentioning, my two guys. I broke these guys in the Graysons, the current JCW tag team champions. Tommy and JP. These are two kids who have worked their butts off for a really long time. They've had their ups and downs and had to eat a little bit of crow, but they learned. They fought, they improved, and they got linked up with ICP last summer and won those JCW titles, and they're making the most of it, man. They got a quick little cameo at GCW. And they rep those belts. They rep those belts really well. I'm very proud of them. So awesome. I also hope to see big things from them too. So
awesome. Well, Kev, you've given us more.
Good
than
Lord,
I expected tonight.
Amazing.
You want to tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll let you go.
Oh, awesome, man, guys! Thank you for having me on. I had a lot of fun. So if you ever need me, man, feel free to give me a shout. I apologize if I rambled on, but I get excited.
We love it. We're here for the passion. We love it.
No problem at all.
Especially I get to talk to you guys. You guys are super easy to talk to, and your enthusiasm is infectious.
That's what we go for.
Yeah. You want to tell people where they can see you or find you?
Yeah. So give me a shout over here on X at Wardog Apollo, or follow me at ACW_Colosseum for the ACW X page, and it's Wardog_Apollo on Instagram, and then same thing, ACW_Colosseum on Instagram as well. So we've got a couple of shows coming up over here in the New York area. July 12th in Middletown, we're going to do our great American Banger 2.
Nice.
From the Middletown Mall. What is the Galleria at Crystal Run. And then I think in June we're going to do I'm going to call it a summer breakout. We're going to do a little summer breakout tour where we're going to run out of the Haverstraw Community Center, really until Christmas break. And I think if it works out, it's still very tentative, but if the scheduling permits, the Christmas show, which I call Santa Slam, Dreamer or Crowbar, if not Dreamer and Crowbar, we'll be on that. We'll be on the last show of the year.
That's
so
awesome.
A lot of fun stuff coming up. I'll make more announcements on the ACW socials, but yeah, man, like I said, you guys have been great. I really appreciate you having me.
Anytime, buddy.
Thanks,
This was a lot of fun.
We appreciate your time, man.
All right, gents. Good luck with the rest of the night. Like I said, I can't thank you enough, man. This was
Thank
awesome.
you.
So
That's what we hope for. Thank you. I was glad to hear it, buddy. We had a great time.
All right. Take care, gents. Be well.
That was awesome.
Well, guys,
stories.
that was fun.